have students that want to develop and maintain positive relationships with their teachers, but that are really starting to see the world beyond the classroom, the world beyond their homes, the world beyond their immediate community. They see themselves as change makers. And if, as educators, if we can harness that and get behind them and support them, that's what's going to lead them to changing the community, but changing the world too. So I started actually at community school teaching elementary school. And I was comfortable with elementary, I was comfortable with high school, but I was petrified of middle schoolers, right? It's what we'd all been told in our education programs, that middle school is really hard, middle school is really scary. So that's when I said, I'm happy teaching elementary, I just don't want middle school. And at our school, we have looped age classes. And so I had a class of third, fourth, and fifth graders. And something didn't feel right. Like my fifth graders felt like they needed something more. And so I started researching, and I found at the time it was the National Middle School Association. And their recommendation was actually that fifth grade become a part of middle school. And that nobody around here does that. We're still the only school that does that. But I read that research, I presented it to our director at the time, and she said, great, you can do that. So I found myself teaching middle school, and I started as a contained class. And what I found is that everything I'd been told about middle schoolers was wrong. They were enthusiastic, they were creative, they were concerned about the world, they were excited to be in school, and they were excited to learn. And that middle school actually was the best age. They had the sophistication and the curiosity that you found with older students, but they also had a warmth and a sweetness and a tenderness to them that you often find in elementary school. And you got like the best of both worlds. And I just really fell in love with middle school. Oftentimes at the middle school age, our kids feel alone. And what I have said to them before is, it's easy for us to feel like everybody is looking at us. It's easy for us to assume everybody is judging you as one person. But the reality of it is that everybody feels that way. And if we can kind of get out of our own individual experience and start to view ourselves as a group, that when you're having a hard time with math, who can you talk to? When you're having a hard time with reading or writing, who can you talk to? And sometimes that's teachers, but sometimes that's peers. And if we can build that sense of community and show our students connections in lots of different ways, it doesn't matter what they need help with. They know that there's someone that will be there to support them. That you know that the pain that our middle school students feel, for whatever the reason, feels very deep and very real to them. As an educator, as a parent, I never wanted to say, to a student or even to my own children, like, oh, this feeling passes, and one day, it won't feel so hurtful. It won't feel so deep. And I think it's important for us to recognize that our students are coming to us with only 10 or 14 years of lived experience. And so for them, whatever they're going through that's causing hurt feels really big. It feels untenable sometimes. And so it's hard, right, as an adult who cares about these children, to look and to know that dichotomy of, you will be okay, you will be able to get through this, but to also not to diminish what they're feeling. And so I think as middle school teachers, what I say to my staff is that we're often sponges all week long, Monday through Friday. We're soaking up their emotions so that we can show them how to regulate. And that's really hard as a person in the world. Because then it becomes our job not only to model regulation for them, but to also take in what we can. And then we have to remember to squeeze ourselves out on Friday and to not carry that emotion. And so I think the most painful thing is the hardest thing, the biggest challenge is just knowing that in an effort to help them learn how to regulate, sometimes we take in those feelings. And it's hard to see young people hurting. But that challenge is also an opportunity, right, to teach them how to regulate. And so it's the hardest thing about it. I think I've had teachers come in that have taught elementary school and have taught high school. And this is what I say to them. I said, the biggest difference in middle school is that opportunity to show them self-regulation, and you take in a lot, and you have to remember to squeeze it out when you're done and not to carry it back to your family or into your own weekend, and to let that stuff go. We spend a lot of time with our students. So our advisory program, teachers can be their advisor for 4 years. And in 4 years, you develop a really close relationship, not just with the student, but with the family, right? It really is a team. The most rewarding thing is that these relationships carry on past middle school. I have really great connections with students, former students who are in high school, who are in college, and who are beyond. So to be able to see your work, to be able to see the things that you're doing and how they play out in the long run is really exciting. That to me is the most rewarding thing, to be able to see the work that we put in action, and to see them grow up. And they're doing all kinds of things, right? Everybody takes a different path. But the thing that is mostly what's consistent is they felt good in middle school. Like they loved middle school to the point where they want to come back and visit. I don't know about I think it's important to remember that we see the biggest change in human development in adolescence compared only to birth to 4. The change from birth to 4 is equivalent to the change that we see in adolescence. And we are often so patient with babies and toddlers and preschoolers. And I would encourage them to be just as patient with adolescents who are going from concrete to abstract, who are going from fully dependent on their families to being independent and making their own choices. That we should be just as kind and patient with this age group as we are with that younger age group. So the first place I take inspiration is to go in and spend time in classrooms and to see what other teachers are doing. I love in education that we share ideas so freely and we borrow from each other of what works. Something that a humanities teacher is doing might work in a science classroom, and being in communion with teachers, not just from our school, not just from Roanoke, but to connect with teachers outside of your locality is really powerful. I love AMLE. I love the work that they do as an organization and the research that you publish and the way that it's accessible. And not even that, the way that you all as an organization take that research and say, here's actually how to do it, has been transformative for our middle school program. I've been so grateful for the connections that I've made with other teachers, but with you all as an organization, and I just love the work that you do. My first reaction was a sense of gratefulness for the work that AMLE has done, for the way that I've been able to utilize that work, and for being in a school where I've been allowed to try those things out and put them into practice. So that very first feeling that I had was gratefulness, and also a gratefulness for the folks who were willing to write recommendations for me and to be in support.